This presentation is about investing in real estate with your 401k. It should be a presentation about like 45 minutes, plenty of time for questions, and then we'll take it from there. John, do you want to tell me a little bit about kind of like your situation?
Sure. I actually have a property that I have invested, that I had a 401k and I rolled it over and I bought an investment property in Avon, Colorado,
Okay.
about from 2013.
Okay. And then you want to, any particular questions? You want to invest more in other things, other real estate program?
Possibly. I just wanted to see if anything had changed since I'd done it, because basically I took my money down and then I got a special loan, which has been paid off. So the property is fully owned by me under my account.
Okay.
And then, the people are renting it and they're just, it's just accruing money in an account.
Okay. So fully owned. All
Yes.
right. And then Ted. So,
hey, Eric, how are you?
yeah. So what are you trying to get out of this presentation?
Honestly, we're just trying to listen and learn and seeing what avenues we can take.
Okay.
Yeah,
Perfect.
we had invested in a self-directed IRA. When I say invested, I mean we had opened one and then gotten busy and then moved the money out of it and did something different with it. And we still have a self-directed IRA LLC open in the state of Mississippi. And that was originally, I believe, it was meant for maybe crypto or something, which we didn't invest in. But so now, last year we were in a bit of a tax situation and had to move money. And when I saw this, I thought, you know what? It would have been nice to think of putting it into a self-directed IRA, that we could have done something that we want with it. So anyway, just overall learning.
By the way, that's my wife, Rachel.
Yeah. Hi, Rachel.
Hi.
Okay, very good. All right. So so I'm just going to skip some slides here. So I'm just going to introduce myself a little bit, but because over the last 10 years, like we've helped, a ton of people invest in real estate and achieve their goals. And what I'm going to try to do today is show you how you can achieve similar results by using your 401k. So my family and I have done a lot of different businesses over the last like 30 years. And more recently, these are all some of the businesses that we've tried. And really, in the last 15 years, we really focused on real estate. We've done over 650 single-family rental flips with Martel Turnkey. We've also coached like thousands of people how to invest in real estate, and they've done over 1,200 transactions in single-family rentals. And we recently launched Red Brick Equity, where we partnered with accredited investors to acquire 200 more family units this year. We're planning to do another 500 in 2026. This is where I'm going to skip some slide here, because maybe that's something that might interest you, because we are kind of in a weird situation right now. I mean, I'm kind of fearful about, are we in an AI bubble or not? So I'd like to kind of like take back, because my goal here is a lot of people, when they have their 401k, their money is in the stock market. And I'm trying to tell people, you need to diversify and you need to do something else. If you're already on board with that, I can skip some slides. So if you vote yes, we can skip some slides. If not, I can kind of explain why it's important to diversify, because I'm really afraid that we could be in an AI bubble for all kinds of different reasons. I'm seeing a lot of similarities that I saw. Okay, so thank you, Ted. I'm seeing a lot of similarities that I saw in the dot-com era that I'm seeing now in the AI kind of bubble that we're in. I'm going to skip these ones. These are kind of entertaining. I kind of like that. So lots of investment done in the AI piece of it, but really no returns. All kinds of cross sales and cross money flowing around. And that to me means that even if you think you're diversifying, you're not. If you're diversifying in the stock market, you're not really diversifying, because if you invest in Oracle and Nvidia and Intel, well, they're all investing into each other. So if one of them falls, they're all going to crumble together. And that was the point here. So I'm just going to skip those things now. So of course, nobody can predict the future. I can't predict the future. I mean, I could be completely wrong about what I'm saying. But the point of investing is that there's still a probability that the stock market will correct. And then how do you protect yourself? But you have to diversify. And what I learned when the dot-com crash happened is that you need to diversify in different asset classes. All these companies are interconnected. Even some companies, I mean, you mentioned crypto, Rachel and Ted. Even crypto is connected to the stock market. If you look at the correlation between crypto and the stock market, they move in the same direction. So diversifying crypto is not really diversifying, because they're going to go in the same direction. So that's kind of part of the problem. And then you have big companies like MicroStrategy that is investing heavily into crypto. If crypto goes down, then that company is going to also be down. And there's a lot of other companies that they're hedging their returns on crypto also. A lot of companies are starting to invest in crypto to save their company, the same way Michael Saylor did with what used to be called MicroStrategy and is now called Strategy. Anyway, and the problem, as you know, with the traditional 401k is that you're stuck. You're stuck with the stocks and bonds. You can't go to gold, you can't go to crypto, you can't go to real estate with the traditional 401k. But you want to go into gold, you want to go into crypto, you want to go into real estate, then you need to go and change to a different asset class. All right. So as you can see, I skipped a bunch of slides. So this is kind of where we are. And it's really like two different strategies that I'm proposing today that would be great for diversifying your self-directed IRA. One of them is turnkey single family rentals. So the advantage of that is that you would get like direct ownership of that single family rental. So I have a company called Martel Turnkey. This is the company that we've done like over 650 single family rental flips over the last 10, 15 years. And this is just an example of our website and some of the properties that you can get. And you can see the returns. This return here includes net cash flow, includes the principal pay down, and includes the appreciation. So this is the annual return on average over the lifetime of this property. So that's one aspect of it. And this is one thing that you could definitely invest in and get the returns that you want. Who needs to invest in this? Someone that wants to have direct ownership of the property from there. So I think John, for example, I mean, you own this property since 2013. You own that property. Everything is paid through the self-directed IRA, and then you could buy another one. And this is something that, Ryan and Ted, this is something that you could do. You don't need to be an accredited investor. You don't need anything special. You just need to have enough money in your self-directed IRA to pay this initial investment, plus a little bit more, because the self-directed IRA, if you go and get a loan, you're going to have a lower loan to value ratio because it needs to be also a non-recourse loan. That amount would be a little bit higher. Maybe it's going to be $50,000 to own this property at 126 purchase price. So that's what you could do, single family rental. The next one is multifamily investing. So multifamily investing, anybody invested in multifamily? Ryan,
No.
John, Ted, Rachel, anybody invest in multifamily?
Yeah. Most of my portfolio is all multifamily.
Oh, okay, great. Okay.
We don't have any rental investment at this point. We went another asset class but if we were to diversify that, it would be into real estate.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so I'm just going to show you kind of like the difference of the kind of like the valuation. And this is the strength of multifamily if you can invest in multifamily. It really comes from what's called the cap rate and the net operating income and how the property gets valued. So if you purchase a property, let's say for $1 million, and the rental income is $150,000. The operating expenses are 60. You have a net operating income of $90,000. So the cap rate is basically the rate of return as if you didn't have any debt. So it's $90,000 divided by $1 million. So that's 9%. That's the cap rate for that particular property. Now, you want to increase the value of the property. I can increase the value of a single family rental by doing renovations and all that kind of stuff. But when I try to sell it, it's going to value the property by using comparable sales. So it's going to look at other single family homes of similar renovation style and square footage and bedrooms and all that. And it's going to look at that and say, this is the value of your house. It doesn't matter what you rent that house for. A house that can have a net operating income of $10,000 a month versus an identical house that has a net operating income of $1,000 a month, they're going to be valued on the single family exactly the same. But the commercial, the multifamilies, they are valued differently. They're valued by their net operating income and the cap rate in that area. So how do I increase my NOI? If I increase my NOI, I'm going to increase, obviously, the value of that property. So how do I increase that NOI? I'd like to have an NOI of 160, moving it from 90 to 160. So how can I do that? So if I increase my net operating income to 160 and using the same cap rate, then the value of the property is going to be $1,750,000. So that automatically increases the value of my building just because I increased the net operating income by still a significant amount of money, $70,000. It increased the price of the property. So that would be a profit of $750,000. So I can do this by reducing the operating expenses.
Eric, I apologize. Can I interrupt you real quickly?
Yep.
So with you gave the example of a single family home.
Yep.
doing upgrades and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Are you doing upgrades to the family home as well to increase that net op income? Okay,
Yeah,
I didn't hear that. I was just making sure. Okay.
Yeah, we're getting to that. Yeah.
You can't just raise the rent to raise the rent. Okay, right?
Yes, exactly. So I can increase the rent, but of course you're absolutely right. I mean, I'm not going to be able to increase the rent if I don't do anything. Right. So I have to spend some money on renovations, and maybe I spend like $300,000 on renovations. And now, so my profit then would be $450,000, right? So I spend the money on renovations. I'm able to increase the rent, maybe lower expenses, and then increase my net operating income to 160. But now it's a new property. It's the market change. And if the cap rate actually changed because the property is newer, has been recently renovated, etc. So instead of a 9% cap rate, I end up with a 7% cap rate. Then what is the sale price of that property? Well, that would be $2.2 million. So this is something that we have done a few times in apartment buildings before, where we bought the apartment building, we did some renovations, and then we're able to lower the cap rate, increase the rent, increase the net operating income, and have a dramatic increase in sale price from $1 million for the purchase price to $2.2 million. Of course, we had to spend some money on renovations, but this is well worth it. We made a significant amount of profit. So that's kind of where we are, what we want to do, and this is the power of multifamily. Now, how do I diversify without paying taxes and penalties? So you've already figured that out, that there's like two different types of custodians for retirement accounts. So a lot of you are on the typical 401k with Fidelity, Vanguard, Schwab's. I think that's where you are, Ryan. So you have a 401k with a bank. And then with that bank, with that 401k, you can only invest in stocks and bonds. There are other custodians like Equity Trust, like AccuPlan and Midland. There are different types of custodian. They're IRS approved, and they allow you to invest in other types of assets: real estate, notes, private placement, arts, golds, crypto, etc. So you have to meet some serious requirements from the IRS in terms of compliance and all that kind of stuff. And these are called the self-directed accounts. So I think, John, you have one. Ted and Rachel, you have one. And I think, Ryan, this is kind of the information you want to have. It's kind of like, how do I go then from that amount of money that in the traditional 401k into a self-directed IRA? Both of these retirement accounts, both of these custodians have the same kind of account from the IRS perspective. IRA, 401k, SEP, which is the self-employed plan. The only difference is really in the securities that you can invest in. And of course, they have different rules associated with that. Some of them you can only invest in stocks and bonds. The other ones could be a variety of other assets. So I think you guys are sold on this already. The traditional retirement account, so you have limited diversification, you don't really control. Your potential performance is around stock market around 9%, and then you have a bunch of hidden management fees. If you look at the self-directed IRA, then you end up with more diversification, more control over the where you invest your funds. You are able to invest privately into different things, and then you have performance potential that is much higher than 9%. So some of these things that we're doing with Red Brick Equity, for example, is 15% or more in terms of returns. So you can improve that. You can even get higher in some circumstances. So that's kind of what the advantage. I think you know that already. So how do we do that? So in a traditional 401k, you can't do this, right? So as soon as you try to do this, you want to invest in a multifamily, then you can't do this directly. What you would have to do is withdraw the money, put the money in, and of course, you have to pay taxes and depending on your age, some penalties. So what you want to do is open up a self-directed IRA with a custodian that is non-bank custodians. You would transfer the money from your traditional 401k to your self-directed IRA, and then you would invest in an LLC that would hold the asset, right? So you can hold a single family rental, you could hold a multifamily, and you would have, in this case, you would have direct control. So this asset, this apartment building would be owned by the LLC, who would be owned by the self-directed IRA. All right, so John and Ted and Rachel, so you've already opened up this self-directed IRA. So did you invest directly from the self-directed IRA to the single family rental, or did you open up an LLC, John?
I opened up an LLC.
Okay, so you open up an LLC, and then the LLC owned that particular property.
Correct.
So you have control of the LLC. You are diversifying away from the stock market in case something happens, and you still have all the tax advantages that you had with your traditional 401k, except you're probably doing a little bit more in terms of returns, and you have direct ownership of something that you control.
Yes.
So that, yeah. So
I have
that's
a quick
do it.
question, Eric.
Yep.
So I mean, somebody like your family who's done this, have you considered that it's just as advantageous to go ahead and pay the taxes and the fee, and then you're growing, you're not paying your tax percentage on the harvest of your investments, but on the seed. So, that's the other way to look at it.
Well, the thing is that the 401k is, I don't like paying taxes. So first of all, let me quote that. I don't think anybody does, but but anyway, so the thing is that if you're currently contributing to 401k, I would stop contribution to the 401k. And I would focus on investing in real estate directly if possible. So you have more flexibility. You have a lot of, you can look at some of the videos I have on YouTube under Eric Martel Official. And then I have a few in there about the 401k. But a lot of people, they already have 401k in there. So I think if you have the 401ks already in the account, you might as well use them, unless you have a year where you have no income or very low income, and you have an opportunity to take them out and minimizing your taxes. But you have to be older than 59 and a half, because at 59, earlier than 59 and a half, then you have to pay a 10% penalties. And then, then you have to pay income tax, ordinary income tax on top of that. So if you're currently contributing to 401k, I would stop contributing to the 401k and I would invest directly in real estate. But if you have the money already sitting there in the 401k and you want to diversify, then you can just leave it in there. And when you have an opportunity to get it out, then you get it out. That makes sense?
I concur.
Yeah.
But I also factor in, just inflation and
Yeah.
maybe, having taken the hit. So
Mhm.
taking the hit, you can look back 5, 7 years later and say, I'm still ahead of the game because I took the hit. I paid the 10%, I paid my taxes. But I agree with you. It's a tough call. And ideally, not ideally, you have a year where you have no income and you say, okay, sweet. That means I got the year off and I didn't have to pay all these taxes. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that the only way to leverage your 401k savings? Or are you able to borrow against it?
So you can borrow against it, but it's a limited amount of money. And then you have to make sure you have to pay yourself interest. And, so yeah, I mean, you could do that. But you have to go through your custodian to ask them if it's possible to borrow money against your 401k. But
Okay.
yeah, it is possible. So this is one method. So this is kind of like the do-it-yourself method. So you're involved. I mean, John can tell you. I mean, you're involved in the management of this. Now you have a situation. John has a situation where he bought this house in 2013, and it's fully paid up, and so he has equity sitting there. So I don't like having like equity, because I'm calculating the return on equity. So even though it's cash flowing nicely, I'm sure your return on equity is probably is much lower than it would be if you were to take a loan on that single family home and buy another one, right? So for John, for example, then I would consider taking a loan, mortgage this particular property under the LLC, and then have the LLC invest in another single family rental or another investment. Because I don't like having the money, the equity sitting there and not working. And my measurement for that is the return on equity. So if your house, if your net cash flow for the year, let's say $5,000 or $4,800, and then your equity is fully paid up and it's a $200,000 home. I gotta add an S everywhere. So you end up with I have to calculate now. Geez. So your return on equity is 4,800 divided by 200,000. So it's 2.4% return on equity, right? So we all agree that we can easily do more. We do better than 2.4% if we return, if we invest in something else, right? So even if it's a single family rental, from Martel Turnkey, you'd get like 30% annualized rate when you include the net cash flow plus. Okay, so you can easily beat 2%. So for John, I would either refi this property and get maybe like 60 or 65% out of the property and invest in another one to maximize your return. If you're close to retirement, then maybe you don't want to do that. Maybe you want to think of a strategy to sell the property and then when it's appropriate time, and then extract the money and invest on it yourself outside of your 401k. So that's the direct ownership. So there's some restrictions. So when you invest in a 401k, in these 401ks, it's just an interesting location for this slide. So there are some rules assigned to that. So there's a bunch of rules around prohibited transactions, self-dealing, extension of credit. And this is why some of the mortgages, for example, is a little bit tricky. You have to have a non-recourse loan, and this is why the lenders, they want to make sure they have a lower LTV. They think it's more risky, so they have a little bit more fees to do this. But you can totally do a mortgage, a refi on a piece of property that's owned by the LLC, as long as it's non-recourse, and then follow the lender's terms and stuff. You also want to make sure that you have enough cash flow, because you can't, some of the things that you can't do is there's a bunch of transactions that are prohibited. So you won't be able to lend money, for example, that'd be extension of credit. You won't be able to lend money to your LLC, to your 401k, if it doesn't have enough cash. If you have sudden repairs that you have to do. So you want to make sure that you have enough reserves to do that as well. So this is something that you have to consider. So I think I can skip that. We can kind of go into more like the kind of the actual investment piece of it. If you have questions about these prohibited transaction, you know, and all the restrictions associated with 401k and self-directed IRA, I can go over that after. So far, like the investments that I've talked about are for anybody. Anybody can do that. But there is a special group of people, so that if you're an accredited investor, so if you own $1 million or more in equity beside your primary residence, or if you make as a couple more than $300,000 a year, then you would qualify as an accredited investor. And that opens up another type of investment that you can do with your self-directed IRA. So you would be able to invest in a company, a fund, a real estate investment fund that would invest in multifamily for you. And that gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of cash flow, in terms of liquidity, etc. So, and a lot of these issues that are complicated when you do direct ownership kind of disappear once you go into this particular model. So you'd be able to do just the same way that you have done before. You open your self-directed IRA, and then I just want to point out that Red Brick Equity is actually a SEC Reg D 506C fund. So it's a real estate investment fund, and this fund can only take money from accredited investor. So then you can transfer your money from your 401k to your self-directed IRA, and then you go and transfer your money to your Red Brick Equity fund, and then Red Brick Equity invests your money into a particular project. The nice thing about Red Brick Equity is that you decide the allocation of your fund. So we currently have two apartment buildings in Chicago that have been funded. We have another one that we're raising capital for right now, also in Chicago, and we have another one that we have under contract that we're doing after this one. So the advantage as an investor, so you would go into Red Brick Equity. Let's say you put $100,000 and say, okay, well, I put $100,000 here in Red Brick Equity, and you can decide that I'm going to put $50,000 in this apartment building, like Krieger Apartments. So this is one of the apartments that we are funding right now. And then, I want to put the other $50,000 in, or $25,000 in Phillips apartment, whatever. So which is the next one. So you'd be able to allocate the funds into each of these different properties individually. And then you will be able to basically have a more granular way of working with your money. So you would have one apartment building with 50, blah, blah, and then when that apartment building is finished the renovation, went into a refi or was sold, then you get your money out and you get your profit, your gains as well back into Red Brick Equity, and then you can do it all over again. So that way you have a constant cycle, a constant flow of income that's coming in. Some of these properties, they also have net cash flow. So some of our investors, so right now, I didn't have the slide here, but the Krieger apartment, for example, if you invest $100,000, you get in year 2, you get about $10,000 in net cash flow, a distribution that would go into your account, as an example. So $100,000, so that's like 10% just in net cash flow that you would get in year 2. Year 3 is, I think it's like $12,000 or something like that. So if you're an accredited investor, then this is pretty sweet, because now I have a little bit of money. I'm diversifying my money across multiple assets. And these assets have different timing, meaning that I'm going to get cash flows on a quarterly basis from multiple assets based on the amount I invested. But also, if there is a sale or refinance event, then that also helps with my cash flow, and which is very different than if you have direct ownership. If you have direct ownership, a lot of your money is in the same asset, and then if something happens, then you're kind of, if you want to sell it, or if you're ready to retire, now you have a $2 million apartment building that you have to sell in order to give yourself a $100,000 salary. With red brick equity, you would have one asset that would be selling. You would be able to take that out and then pay yourself $100,000. So that's kind of what the benefit is. You're still very much in control because you decide the allocation of the funds and which asset you want to be in. You're still tax deferred, so nothing changes there. All the money flows into your red brick equity account, and it's assigned to your self-directed IRA. So this, if you're an accredited investor, this is the ideal way to work with your self-directed IRA. Otherwise, the other option would be the single-family rental. Okay, so you put your money in here, and then you're able to customize the allocation based on asset. Asset one, I can give a certain percentage, a different percentage for asset number two. So the minimum investment for these, the fund is like 25K. You can diversify across different assets, and you control that allocation, and it's passive investment. So also, if you're not familiar with investing in multifamily too, like we have a track record for investing in multifamily and in that area in the Midwest. So, and we have a team on the ground. We have like an excellent property management company out there that's institutional level, and they have over 4,500 units that they're managing right now. Also, when you're doing it that way, I mentioned kind of like when you go into, when you invest directly from your self-directed IRA, you also have a lower loan to value ratio. Now, when red brick equity goes and invests in a property, we have better lending terms because we're a real estate investment fund. We're not a self-directed IRA. So we have the maximum loan to value ratio. We have better interest term. We have lower fees and all of that. And the bottom line, of course, is that, we get better returns in the end. Okay, so any questions? Any of you accredited investors?
I mean, currently we're not because our main breadwinner is laid off at the moment, but
Yeah.
in the future, God willing, we will be again.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the model,
Mhm.
and but I also really value the information of buying commercial real
Yeah.
estate versus single family real estate.
Yeah. The advantage of the single family at this stage is that it gives you a little bit of flexibility. So, because if you invest in one apartment building out of your self-directed IRA, then you have a lot of money that's tied into that one asset. And so that's a little bit risky. And then also, if you're thinking, I'm always trying to think of your exit, right? So now you're ready to retire. You have a $3 million or $2 million apartment building. Well, you could, if the cash flow is enough, technically you could take the cash flow and extract it. Let's say cash flows like $100,000 would be a little high, but let's say cash flows $100,000 or $50,000. You could take that out every year, and that would be good. But eventually, you're gonna, with the 401k, the other restriction that you have is that you have to divest from the 401k a little bit later. I think starting at age 79, you already have to divest from your 401k. So you're forced. You have a minimum distribution requirement. So that means that $2 million asset, you're going to have to sell it. And if you have to sell it, then that's fine. The capital gains that you have, they're going to be put in the LLC, and then then you're going to extract the money and pay the ordinary income tax. So that's my only thing. If single family rentals, at least I can slowly kind of like sell one house, sell another house, maybe sell a house a year, and then kind of spread it out that way. So that's the only kind of like thing where if you're going to do the direct ownership from your 401k, then I would prefer the single family rental and build your portfolio that way. And
But could you do something more creative, like split up the ownership of
yeah,
the commercial, or
Yeah.
not?
you could. So this is where we go into these restrictions. So good question. So there's a bunch of prohibited transactions, so that you have to do. So your IRA is kind of like a special entity. It's separate from you. And then when you talk about the IRA, it's just a separate entity. And some transactions, like if you want to purchase an LLC, if you're receiving any payment, give or take any payments or services from the IRA, you can't do these transactions, if you are a disqualified person. And a disqualified person is you as the owner, your spouse, your ancestors, your parents, grandparents, your lineal descendants, that means your children, grandchildren, and their spouses, and also companies that the IRA is over 50% owner of. So from that perspective, you wouldn't be able to invest that way. There's one way that you could do it. So because there's another restriction, which is a self-dealing. So basically, you can't benefit in any way from the IRA as an investment. So you can't get commission, can't get compensation. So when you buy that asset, you want to make sure that there's a third party that's managing it. You can't even go and do repairs on the property yourself, because that would be providing services. So the IRA would be in receipt of services for free, and that would be considered compensation technically. If you want to own like short-term rentals, you can't go and use the short-term rental. Any disqualified person can't use the short-term rental. If you want to invest in a boat, you can't do that either. So all these, you can't get any benefits from it. There is one thing but it's a little bit tricky. You can be part owner of an asset, but there's very, very strict rules. So first of all, both parties need to invest at the same time, and that's only valid for the initial purchase. So let's say you have an apartment building, and then so it's you buy it for $1 million, and you say, okay, well, I'm going to put $250,000, and then the $750K is going to be owned by the IRA, and then I create the operating agreement, and then you have two of these entities like that. So you can put the money in. It has to be in a separate bank account. The operating agreement has to show the split in ownership that's representative of the amount of money that people put in. And everything then has to be split equally. Income, expenses, any kind of distribution has to be split equally based on the percentage of ownership. Obviously, you have to have a separate bank account and all that kind of stuff. And again, you can't manage the property, so it has to be a third-party manager. That's pretty easy to find, but these are the requirements. And you do a few mistakes here, and this could get you in trouble very, very quickly. So a lot of people, they do this, but then, you can come to regret it if you're not very, very strict about that investment. So I would have like a lawyer, make sure that everything is there. And you also have to have like a tenant in common when you do the ownership. So everything is registered properly. And then you can't even lend, they can't lend money to the IRA. You can't guarantee the loan. That's why these loans have to be non-recourse. So once you set that up, so this is what you would need to do. So you would have like split percentage at that point, and that would be for a while.
Thank you for all that explanation. Yeah, I did. That was all good because I was thinking after the fact, when it comes time to retire or divest,
Yeah,
that you could then make some kind of transfer, but it sounds like
Yeah.
that's definitely not a possibility.
well, you need to talk to a lawyer. There's something called in-kind distribution. I didn't put it on the slide, but Matthew Mertens is in there. They just joined. And Matthew is with Accuplan. So he is one of those non-bank custodians. So Matthew, we were talking about being a co-partner. You're gonna be like right in it.
Yeah. I apologize.
That's probably the tough.
My schedule screwed up today and had this for 2 o'clock. So I apologize everybody for coming in late and stuff as well. So sorry about that, everybody.
Yeah. So this is probably the toughest piece of it, which is the part owner. And I'm mentioning in the slide here that you could be part owner, like you as an individual, and the IRA being part owner of an LLC that owns an asset. But the rules are very, very strict, and you want to make sure that you have a lawyer that looks at all the documents and make sure that it's the proper ownership, it's a tenant in common, that the money is put in a separate bank account. There's no commingling of fund. There's all that kind of stuff, and everything is split based on ownership percentage. You have to have the operating agreement reflect all that. And of course, no personal services. So you can't manage the property. Everything has to be done by a third party and all that good stuff.
Yeah, 100%. So we're talking about like checkbook, or if they want to do it through like a checkbook LLC, is that what we're talking about? Yeah. So yeah. So if you guys are looking to do it through like an LLC or a checkbook LLC, yeah, you want to normally have 100% partnership in that process, mainly because of the fact that you just don't want anything for the IRS to have to look any harder than what they already, what I'm saying, are doing when it comes to it. Or we also say do it 50-50. You kind of just want to keep it in an easy mathematical area, basically. If you're looking to do a checkbook LLC like ownership with an IRA, and if it's with let's say you're splitting it between 2 people that both invest through their IRA, then you want 50-50 partnership as best as you guys can. So that money split is even and they both go to those separate accounts across the board. It keeps the books clean and it's really easy then to manage. And then you're not subject to audits or anything like that in the future. But 100% talk to attorneys beforehand and stuff as well.
Yeah, exactly. And then you can talk about the percentage split as well, because, I don't know if it needs to be 50-50. It could be a different percentage as long as it's clear that the ownership is there.
Yeah, 100%.
Now,
and then, did you guys talk about also doing like IRA plus also just personal funds or anything like that, Eric? Sorry, I know I'm late.
No, but so before we go there, so that's a good idea. So the other thing too is like in-kind distribution. So it is possible to, from your 401k, from self-directed IRA, to do in-kind distribution. So if I have an asset, there's rules associated with that. I need to get an appraisal to get the fair market value, and I can extract, let's say I have a single family home. I want to distribute it to myself, or maybe even a portion of it. I have to get the fair market value and then change the ownership accordingly. And then that portion that is distributed in kind could be, is going to be taxable, just the same way as if you distributed cash. So are you familiar with that? Are you able to comment on that?
Yeah, so if you guys are going to be taking like an in-kind distribution, yeah, it would be basically the same thing. So it's more if you're in a traditional SEP, anything that's a traditional where it's pre-tax funds, right? So not post-tax. So if you do like a Roth, then that's post-tax funds. So pre-tax funds, if you're going to go ahead and take out a percentage of the investment whenever you have to do any type of R&D is basically what we call it. So required minimum distribution, right? That happens once you hit a certain age limit. I think it's like 72 right now, but it changes, it's changed over the last like couple of years and stuff. Could be up to like 73, 74 now. I'll have to look, or I can obviously send out more information on that. But when it comes to RMDs, yeah, you can do a percentage of the investment that you currently have in there, right? So you just need to equal it up to what your RMD is for that year, your required minimum distribution. And then from there, you can take that percentage out, or if you want to take more, that's fine too. But required minimum distributions, yeah, you would be able to go ahead and say, hey, I want to take out, I don't want to de-invest from my current investment that I'm in. So I want to go ahead and take out just a portion of that. I'm going to go ahead and say, I have $5,000 that I need to take out. So that's 20% of my investment if you invest 20 or 25,000, right? So I want to do 20%. We'll walk you through the steps here at AccuPlan to get you guys all the way through that. That's where my team would come in and go ahead and get through those steps. We then also have Eric on that as well. So then he knows that whenever you guys do your dividends or anything like that, how to pay those out correctly across the board, right? Because that's really the big thing, is knowing, hey, 20% of this has to go to the individual's, account, and then the other 80% goes into then the IRA account. And it's just understanding those type of things. So that is something that you are able to do when it comes to required minimum distributions, if you're looking to do it that way, or even distributing even before required minimum distributions come into.
Yep.
Well,
Sounds
thank you both, because it does shed some light on some options if you were to invest in something larger.
Yeah.
And didn't want to pay, a ton of capital gains in 1 year.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you need to please involve a lawyer if you're going in that route. It's very strict. And I think also if you have a good partner like AccuPlan also, that they can help you. They have the legal team that is specialized in that. So they would guide you to all the stuff that you need to do and getting the fair market value, etc. So make sure all the paperwork is correct. So the last thing you want is the IRS to look into your situation and determine that, oh, you know what, all that money you have in your self-directed IRA is, it's not self-directed IRA anymore. You owe us taxes for the last 25 years. So.
Yeah, we don't want that whatsoever. We don't want you guys getting into prohibited transactions or anything. That's what we do here, is obviously avoid those type of things. So,
so they're going to make sure that, they keep you safe. So
yeah. So if you ever have any questions, contact us. We're not attorneys or anything here, but obviously we know the rules, we know the regulations that come along with it. If we tell you, talk to an attorney real quick, we'll go ahead and do so. Also, then we'll be in conversation with Eric as partners, basically in this, just making sure that he knows the information as well. So always just keep us involved along with Eric and his team, and we can always guide you guys the right way.
Okay.
Okay.
Rachel, Ted, John, any other questions?
I do have a question. If I was to, since my property is completely paid off, and I wanted to sell it, what would be involved in getting it put into my LLC to where I could use the funds to maybe buy another property or invest in like that red brick situation?
I mean, you would sell it the same way that you would sell your property. I mean, you would advertise it or have a real estate agent, and then, but all the funds would go to your LLC. They wouldn't go to you directly. They would go to the LLC first. And then from there, then you would be able to do either reallocate the funds within your LLC to another investment, within your self-directed IRA into another investment, or you can distribute the cash to you, and then you can do the investment yourself. And then but if you distribute the cash to you, obviously there's going to be a taxable event, and then you have to pay taxes and all that.
Correct.
Yeah.
But I mean, as far as do I have to go through AccuPlan to do the sale, or can I just
I see.
And put the
no.
money
So
in
like if it's currently inside like a checkbook LLC is what you're saying, John?
Yes.
Yeah. So no, you'd be the one that allocates it and goes ahead and does the sale of the property. Again, you're the one that's in charge of that LLC. Well, your IRA is, right, but you are the one that's handling the checkbook area because you're the manager and the member of that checkbook, right? So you go ahead, select whichever real estate company that you want to go ahead and choose. You and your wife just can't be the realtor that's selling it, basically, right?
That's right.
And that prohibited, right? So
That's right.
but you would choose a third party real estate company or someone, you know what I'm saying, that but they're just not related to you personally, right? You go ahead and sell that property, funds go back into your LLC account. And then again, from there, if you want to go ahead and invest through the LLC tool that you already have, you can go ahead and do so. If you want to go ahead and pull the money back into the IRA, then you would send it from the LLC back into the IRA. And then you can go ahead and invest that way too. So you have multiple different options because you do have that checkbook LLC on how you want to go about investing, John. But yeah, basically how you get the money there is how you're always going to bring the money back when it comes to the IRA, to the LLC, to the investment, right? And then you bring it back the exact same way every single time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. That answered a lot of questions for me. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Great question, by the way, Tiff.
Okay.
Hey, Eric.
Yeah.
Eric, real quick. Hey, this is Ted. So in regard to investing in your multifamily homes,
Yeah.
do you have? I've been looking on your website, and I was just wasn't clear. Is there specific multifamily homes you can choose to invest in, or is it the whole umbrella of what multifamily?
Yeah, you
homes
choose which property you want to invest in. So you end up basically, once you send your fund to the red brick equity, and then you decide the allocation. I want to so 25% here, 50% here, and then I'm waiting on the third investment, third asset.
Okay, where is here? Do I get to see where these properties are located?
Yeah. So what I can do, I think I have your email somewhere. So I'll send you an email, and then I'll send you the slide deck, and then you can look at that. But you need to be an accredited investor. So if you're not an accredited investor, I can't. I won't be able to take your capital, take your funds.
I comprehend. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, but I can send you an email with the information.
Right. If I'm okay, I know that you said you have to be an accredited, and that's 300 per married couple. But wasn't there one other stipulation for being accredited? What was it?
Yeah. $1 million in equity.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Outside of your primary residence.
Yeah, I'd forgotten that one. Okay, yeah. So we're currently not accredited, but God willing, we'll be accredited again.
Yep.
Once again, we'll be back on top.
You can sell your home, and
we need to live somewhere.
Rent.
No.
Yeah.
Thank
this
you,
is also interesting. And do you have on your website or in a slide deck or anything, currently you own these properties, and what is your ROI on them? Like, because all of this cap stuff is new to me. So I took a couple screenshots. I'm gonna have to look into it. And I just never realized about commercial investment versus single family, and so it's all new to me. But what is your rate of revenue income per asset?
So for the annualized rate of return, typically we shoot for 15% or more annualized rate of return. So that's assuming a 5-year period where we're investing some money, renovate the units, and then increase the rent, and then sell the property after 5 years at the same time.
When did you buy these properties?
So some of these properties, so you're talking about the multifamily, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the two, 4 of them I bought like about 10 years ago, something like that. And then the other 2 with red brick equity. So we launched this year, and we have 2 right now that we purchased this year, and then we have 2 more under contract right now.
Mhm. So these, we don't have long-term, but obviously you've been in the real estate market long enough to have an eye for where you want to put your money and why.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean, to me, like, I think, yeah, I mean, that to me, I think it's important to diversify from the stock market. Make sure you have money invested in different asset classes. Don't take all your money out of the stock market. Who knows? It might keep going and be great. And
Right.
but yeah, you want to diversify in case this thing kind of deflate,
Yeah.
this bubble deflate. Then the other thing, yeah, so that's why I diversify in real estate. I think it's a great way to do it.
Right, for sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that generally speaking, we can see the trajectory of more renters in the market than people being able to purchase.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, you look at how affordability, housing affordability is getting less and less affordable for people. We are going to have, if we end up in a recession and higher unemployment, that also means that people are going to go into, they won't be able to buy a house. They won't be able to qualify for a loan. And then you have the inflation effect and the tariff effect. That's going to affect the cost of building and all of that. So, for all these reasons, I think there's going to be a lot more in tenants, more people, renting rather than buying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sadness.
Well, it's been so great. Thank you so much for the call, for the information, and
my pleasure.
We'll be in touch when we're back on top.
Yeah, so exactly. So you have, well, I mean, I can also help you on the, well, I have an apartment building for sale also out of that, if you want to have direct ownership. The other thing is, so if you want to connect on Martel Turnkey as well, I can connect you with my wife, actually, who manages Martel Turnkey, if you're looking at that. And can show you some houses that could fit that. But I know you're more focused on the multifamily right now, but just
yeah, we were actually talking about aging, homes for aging. So I would imagine, so long as they're deemed commercial, that would fit the bill as well.
Yes, nursing home you're talking about?
Like a little private, 7-8 person nursing home. Yeah.
Yeah. So I looked at those. The thing is, so you have to have an operator. So you have to know an operator, someone that knows how to operate a nursing home. There's a lot of requirements that are beyond residential. So here in Florida, for example, you need to have a generator that is outside the home, that is, bunker proof and inundation proof and all that, flood proof and all that kind of stuff. You have a lot of requirements, ramps, all kinds of handles and stuff like that needs to be everywhere. And so there's a lot of requirements on the building itself. So you need to know what you need to do there to make sure you're prepared for these people. And then you have the operation of it. So you need to have qualified staff, qualified administrator. You need to keep records of everything. So
sounds like an epic nightmare.
Well, I mean, I don't consider somebody's nightmare is somebody else's barrier to entry.
Yeah, exactly.
So you have a big moat there that not everybody's willing to take on. So you have a pretty good business. But I just wanted you to be aware that this is what's going on, and that it's not as easy. I looked into that. It's not as easy. And now with any cuts in Medicare and all of that, a lot of the funding is cut to Medicare. So that Medicare was paying also for some of these nursing homes. So
yeah.
All right.
Good point.
Okay.
I'm happy to talk.
Sorry, John. Go ahead.
Anything you want to run by me, I'm happy to look at it. And You
Appreciate
can
that,
also
Eric.
self-storage will also work. You can also, you
Yeah,
know,
for
you
sure.
looked at all that, all right, didn't you?
No, in fact, not recently. I mean,
John
we
wants
did
to talk.
talk
We've been
about
talking
it.
for a while.
Yeah, no, John can take it. Yeah, but yeah, to answer your question, it is another good idea. Go ahead, John.
Oh, I was just going to mention that I've got to get out of here, but wanted to say thank you for everything. And Matthew, I'm going to be in contact with you soon. And
Yeah, let me know. Let me know if you need me for anything, John. You know, while you're going through any of your process or anything like that. I'm obviously here to help you guys across the board. So just let me know.
I appreciate it.
I too have an AccuPlan account, Matthew. So now
Oh,
I got
thank
a
you.
name of somebody.
Fantastic.
Wow.
There we go. All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So who were you with beforehand? Just out of curiosity.
Oh my gosh, I don't remember because it was something that I did and then I removed the money and I did something else with it. And
Okay.
so I still have the account.
Okay. I'm not pulling you up on my side. So you might be with one of our other associates, but that's perfectly fine too. Like that's not even an issue whatsoever. So either way, I can be your contact. I can help you through this obviously process and everything as well. If you guys are looking at going with Red Brick, then, I'm obviously here to help,
Right.
you, Eric, everybody across the board. That's what we do with our B2Bs, right? So we want to make sure that we're supporting them and stuff. And when we have really good investment options and really good things that Eric is providing, we want to make sure you guys are getting in on those. So yeah, reach out to me after this too. I'll go ahead and find the account and everything as well. I'm going to jot you down, but I'll go find you and stuff like that too. But I can still be your contact across the board when it comes to working with Eric and everything as well.
Cool. Yeah. If you can send out an email, Eric, with Matthew on it so we can have contact with the three of us.
Yep, I will.
All right. Thank
Great.
you guys.
Thank you. It was great.
Thank
Very
you.
good
Yeah, it was
conversation. I
excellent.
know I
Thank you so
bounced around
much.
a lot to make sure that I answered all your questions, but
No,
I think
that
it
was
worked
cool.
out in the end.
Yeah, 100%. We appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Okay, great.
So,
Thank you
yep,
very much.
Take care.
All right,
Bye-bye.
take care.
Everyone. Take care.